yes, I'm the real Shady, all the other Slim Shadys. Oh. Welcome back to Nitro's Corner. We're here with another Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reading. We're with chapter 146 this time. Last chapter was a banger. I don't really know what to expect in this chapter, but I think it's going to be just as good as we're really kind of getting into the next arc here. As you can tell, we're over at my manga shelf over here, a little bit better of a background than just the wall from the previous video. So we'll try it out, see how the camera works over here. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to be reading from my phone this time. So we're starting off this chapter still with the entourage heading in with Tengen and kind of going over all the details of how to free Satoru. The Angel's Curse technique can open the back of the prison realm. Do you know where she is? So last chapter we ended off with this girl named the Angel. We don't really know what her name is, but she goes by the Angel, who has a curse technique that can eliminate other curse techniques. So their kind of thought process of this is she can maybe kind of alter the prison realm and release the back gate, the back door of it, kind of freeing Gojo. At least this is the way Tengen's kind of explaining it. So hopefully we'll learn more about how exactly she'll do that. But it seems like she's probably going to play a crucial role. And she's also in the Culling game. So I think this could be our way that we pull the rest of the entourage here into the Culling game, because I think that there's going to be some really cool content to make out of like the rules and regulations of the game. So I'm excited to see that. The game barriers reject me, so I don't have any more information. So Tengen knows that she's on the colony in the east side of Tokyo, but he is not allowed to cross through the barriers of the game, so he does not know any further information. So it's going to be kind of on the entourage here to confirm everything themselves. So the merger has placed a curse on every human in Japan, and the ritual is going to take roughly 2 months to be complete. So that kind of means that they have 2 months to beat the Culling games, find the Angel, or find the Sacred Spear, the Black Rope, to free Gojo, which Yuta has already searched for and hasn't been able to find. So it's really 2 months to find the Angel, have her break open the seal, free Gojo, have him take over everything from there, because honestly, once he's freed, they don't really stand a chance of, stopping him. So that seems like it's their only hope. All right, so let's take a look at these rules here. So rule 1 is, after awakening a curse technique, players must declare their participation in the Culling game at a colony of their choice within Japan within 19 days. So all these humans that have had a curse put on them and have awakened a technique have to declare their participation within 19 days. Most of these people happened about midnight on October 31st, and it's now November 9th. So they have 10 days, and so they have 10 days and 15 hours to declare their participation, or else rule 2 comes in. Any player who breaks the first rule shall be subject to curse technique removal, which they explain would most likely result in death, because they're not doing it in any kind of removal or... So this would most likely result in death because they're not doing it via a binding vow, which means that they're removing rather than prescripting the curse technique. So they're not binding that they can't use the technique, they're actually removing it, which seems something would happen to their brain and likely cause death, or else everybody would just refuse the participation. They also say people that don't have curse techniques, like Maki, would not be subject to this, as they don't use any kind of curse technique, so there's nothing to remove. Also, they mentioned Panda, who he doesn't really have a brain, as being a cursed puppet, so we'll see how that goes. So then we get rule 3, which is non-players who enter the colony become players at the moment of entry and shall be considered to have declared participation in the Culling game. So any of these sorcerers like Yuji, Fushiguro, Yuta, any of these people who want to go, say, to find the Angel and have them break the seal, the only way they can enter the colony is by participating in the game. The moment they cross that barrier, they are now a participant. So what about the civilians who are already inside the barrier? They will be given at least one chance to exit. For real? How generous. All right, so now we get into how the Culling game is actually played, the scoring of it, which is Rule 4. Players score points by ending the lives of other players. So you progress through this game by killing other people that are participants. Points are determined by the game master and indicate the value of a player's life, with sorcerers being worth 5 points and non-sorcerers being worth 1 point. What about this game master? Each player will receive a shikigami called a kogane. So each participant is given a shikigami called a kogane, which is, I believe, how the game master, or they describe it as the game's program, probably keeps track of the point system, who kills who, and kind of determines the point allocation. So that kogane that's following them around, that it seems like that's what they'll be used for. So Rule 6 says that they can spend 100 points to negotiate with the game master and add a rule to the game. But that means that 100 points, if they give that up, they would be basically killing themselves, unless they, killed somebody else to gain some points to put them over 100. So technically they would have to kill either a non-sorcerer or a sorcerer to at least gain 1 point and to be able to spend 100 without, killing themselves. So you can't subtract rules. You can negotiate to add a rule. So rather than taking rules away, maybe you could find a creative way to add a rule that would then counteract other rules, is what Fushigoro's, proposing. Rule 7 is saying that if somebody does spend the 100 points to negotiate a new rule, in accordance with that rule, the game master must accept any proposed new rule unless it has a marked and long-lasting effect on the Culling game. So basically, with these rules, it's kind of saying that there is no further bias. All of the sorcerers are participants in the game. The game master has to treat them the same. So Kenjaku has no further bias. Like, he can't really sway any more than any other person can, even though he created this game and not created it. Maybe he created the rules, but he started it anyway. He initiated the process, the ritual. All right, and the final rule, Rule 8, if a player's score remains the same, so if they don't kill somebody or somehow increase or I guess technically decrease their score within 19 days, it is also subject to curse technique removal, which would equal death in this scenario. So technically you could use your 100 points to negotiate. That would decrease your points, or you'd have to kill either a sorcerer or non-sorcerer to gain some points within 19 days. So you have a 19-day window. They've been explained all the rules now. They're ready to roll out. Yuki, Tsukumo, and Choso are going to stay behind and guard Tengen, as they are probably the two strongest other than Yuta. Those three are kind of on par, I think, Choso being definitely third, but Yuki and Yuta seem to be, pretty close to each other's level. So they're going to stay and guard Tengen. Maki is going to return to the Zenin clan and search for cursed tools, as now that Megumi is the clan head, they have free range to kind of go through the Zenin household. But they're saying they're going to go to Juzo Kumiya's workshop. Not really sure what's there. Afterward, I will find Panda and help address the game. And you, Yuta, I'm going to enter a colony right away to take part in the game. So Yuta is going to enter into the barrier right away to start learning as much as he can about the game, have some, further knowledge inside the barrier, as phones can't call out. So there might be some kind of discrepancies there between the information outside and inside. So if he's in there, he can find where the angel is. He can, just gather intel, and he'll be on his own again. But they do mention, they have a flashback here to where Yuji says, if he ever transforms to Sukuna again, don't hesitate to kill me, Yuta, as you are the only hope. You are our only hope in ending him with Gojo sealed. So after Maki and Yuta going off on their own, it leaves Fushiguro and Itadori together, which I think is a bit risky, because clearly Sukuna is planning something with Megumi. So if he does take over Yuji and it's just Megumi there, that could be what Sukuna wants, as he still could, enact his binding vow at some point. So I think that's a very risky move. Although they do say to go to Kinji Hakari, who is a suspended third year, who I don't really know much about, but Yuta states that when Kinji is worked up, he's stronger than Yuta is, so maybe this is kind of the way to help protect Megumi if Sukuna does take over, as they're going to need something. So I'll be really interested to see who this is, because I don't really think we've seen any third years yet. well, I guess technically Akatsu would he be a third year or second year? I don't know. But I don't know who this guy is. We haven't really talked much about him as he's suspended, so this will be really interesting. I kind of want to see what he is. So we're into the chapter with Fumihiko Takaba, who is the first Culling game player that we've never seen before as far as not being a sorcerer. This looks like he's just a regular guy, but at that last frame there, it looks like he, is maybe developing a curse technique or something as it's going. So it'll be interesting to see how these people kind of have like these powers emerging from them, kind of like JoJo's, honestly, with like all the arrows going around and Diamond's unbreakable, and like people are just developing these curse techniques. So it'll be really interesting to see how this goes. This is a very, very informative chapter. So comment down below what you think of it. I mean, it definitely was a lot to take in, and I think that we're going to be getting into some action soon here, but it's cool to kind of see the plans and the different paths everybody's taken. I mean, we have the Yuta path going into the Culling game right away. We have the Maki path going to the Zenith household, which could give us some pretty cool characters maybe we haven't seen, or cursed tools, as they seem to have a lot, and they obviously just raided the whole Jujutsu high after Gojo was sealed, so that'll be an interesting storyline. I think Kiniji Hakari, or however you say his name, with Yuji and Megumi, that's going to be very interesting, because we now have another very powerful character who is on Yuta's level, as said by Yuta himself. So that's another, that's now Yuki Tsukumo, Yuta, and then this guy, who are kind of like the strongest three sorcerers available right now. So that's very interesting. And then we also have Yuki and Choso, who are going to be staying back and protecting Tengen. So I think we have now 3 clear timelines that we're going to be following into this next arc, and I'm very interested to see how they unfold. So I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter, and stay tuned for next week. Peace out.